Welcome to the Deep Dive, listeners. Ready to unlock some serious success strategies?
Always up for that.
Excellent. Well, today we're diving deep into Ray Dalio's principles. And let me tell you, we've got a stack of his writings from his book, Principles, Life and Work.
This is going to be good.
It is. We're going to unpack the most valuable, applicable principles, the ones you can actually use. Career, tough decisions, or just approaching life with a fresh perspective, we've got you covered.
What I find fascinating about Dalio, is that these principles aren't just theory. They're rooted in his experiences, and we're talking from a very young age.
His path to success was, it wasn't a straight line, was it?
No, not at all. Picture this. Dalio hated traditional schooling, but was trading stocks at 12 years old. Talk about an independent streak.
That early market experience, it really shaped him, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Take the 1971 Nixon shock, U.S. dollar off the gold standard. Dalio was blindsided. Total wake-up call. Yeah, forced him to realize, I need to understand history's patterns. He dives deep into past currency devaluations, and it hits him, this isn't random, it's history repeating itself.
So are you saying we all need to be history buffs to succeed?
Not exactly. It's more about recognizing trends and cycles. Knowledge is power, right?
Yeah.
Like knowing the tide is coming in. You can either get swept away or ride that wave.
Okay, so look for the patterns, anticipate what's coming. Got it. Now, what about the Nifty 50 crash in the 70s? What did he learn from that?
Another turning point. He saw those sure bet stocks plummet and realized the danger of groupthink. Everyone piles onto the same investments, same assumptions, and boom, disaster.
So think for yourself. Don't just follow the crowd.
Exactly. Contrarian thinking, questioning assumptions, it's crucial, not just for markets, for any field where you're making decisions.
It's remarkable how he translated market experiences into broader principles for life. I mean, how do you go from stocks to this whole philosophy?
Well, he's not just some cold, calculating trader. There's a human side to him, too, and that comes out in the principles. He talks about meeting his wife Barbara on a blind date and their son Matt having this incredible experience living in China, started a charity for orphans at 16.
16?
That's unbelievable. Right. So you see, these principles aren't just about money. They're rooted in values, relationships, his personal life.
So it's not just external success, but living a meaningful life.
I like that. Exactly. Guided by principles that are true to who you are.
Okay, so we see where these principles come from. Market-savvy, personal experience, that deep desire to understand how things work. But let's get to the core. Embracing reality and dealing with it, right? What's he getting at there?
It's the foundation of his approach. He argues that most of us distort reality to fit what we want. We avoid uncomfortable truths,
Right.
Sugarcoat them, we tell ourselves stories. But Dalio says, to get what you want, you need to see the world as it is, not as you wish it were.
Sounds tough. Who wants to dwell on the negative all the time?
It's not about being negative. It's about honesty. It's facing those truths and using them to grow. He uses this powerful example, witnessing hyenas taking down a wildebeest in Africa. His initial reaction, pure horror, empathy for the wildebeest.
Yeah, that's intense.
It is. But then he forces himself to step back. He sees it through a different lens, nature's grand design. Nature doesn't care about individual feelings. It's optimizing for the whole system.
Right.
Hyenas need to eat, ecosystem needs balance, and those bad things, like a wildebeest being killed, well, they're necessary for the system to thrive.
Okay, so look beyond our immediate reaction and see the bigger picture. But how do we apply that, say, in everyday life?
Think about a setback, a failed project, a missed opportunity, disappointment, frustration, maybe even anger.
Right.
Been there. But what if you step back? Ask, what can I learn from this? How can I use this to improve?
So reframe those bad things as opportunities for growth.
You got it.
But did Dalio always have this mindset? Was he always this, Zen master of accepting reality?
Not at all. He talks about a massive market miscalculation in 1982. Public, very costly failure. But instead of giving up, he dives into studying debt crises. He had to figure out what he missed, why he got it wrong.
So even he, with all his principles, made mistakes.
Of course. Nobody's perfect. It's how you handle them that matters. This experience and others like it reinforce that idea. Bad things are often opportunities in disguise.
Interesting.
We need those rainy days to push us forward, to learn, to adapt.
So these principles aren't about avoiding failure, but about using setbacks to become stronger, more resilient.
That's it. Embracing the full reality of life, the good and the bad, using it all to your advantage.
Thinking about embracing reality It makes me wonder about how we make decisions.
Yeah.
Are we really as logical as we think?
Dalio would probably say, no, not really. He's super interested in how our brains work, especially with decisions. There's this battle between two parts, the emotional, driven by instinct, and the logical, analyzing evidence.
It's like the angel and devil on your shoulders, but all inside your head. So which one do we listen to?
He doesn't say to ignore emotions, they give us valuable information. But the key is recognizing when they hijack decision-making. We've all made impulsive choices, fear, excitement. Sometimes it works, often regrets.
Right. So how do we become more logical? Do you have to be like robots?
No, not at all. It's about awareness, engaging that logical brain. Think of it like making a big purchase, a car.
Yeah.
Emotional brain wants the sleekest, fastest model.
Of course.
But the logical brain, it shouldn't be asking, can I afford this? Does it meet my needs? Have I looked at all the options?
Right. Slow down, ask the right questions, consider the evidence. But how do we even know what evidence to trust? There's so much information out there.
That's where believability weighting comes in. Sounds complex, but it's simple. Give more weight to opinions from people with a proven track record in that area.
So not just what the majority thinks, but who has credibility, expertise to back up their claims.
Exactly. Think about it. If you had a serious medical issue, would you just poll your friends on social media?
Probably not the best source.
Right. You'd find doctors specializing in that area. They have the knowledge, the experience, the believability.
Okay, so apply that to all kinds of decisions. But how do we do it? Do we need to, rank everyone we meet?
Doesn't need to be that complicated. Start by identifying where you need to decide. Then ask, who are the most credible sources here? Who has a track record of success? Who makes accurate predictions, good judgments consistently? Then seek out their opinions, weigh their evidence, see how it fits with your research, your reasoning.
It's like building your own personal advisory board, but in your head.
Exactly.
Dalio actually used this in the real world, right? Didn't he advise policymakers during the 2008 financial crisis?
He did. Fascinating how he applied this principle in that high-pressure situation. He noticed policymakers often came from environments prioritizing consensus, negotiation, whereas those in finance, they were trained to think independently, anticipate trends, make bets with real consequences.
So even in a crisis, he's focused on who has the most credible perspective.
Yeah.
Who's going to see this situation most accurately?
Yes. He wasn't saying one approach is better, but understanding those perspectives, how they influence decisions, it's crucial. Seeing the blind spots, the biases each group might bring.
It makes me wonder, with all this emphasis on logic, evidence, what about intuition? What role does that play for him?
He acknowledges its importance, especially for those with deep understanding in a field. But it's a complement to a rigorous approach, not a replacement.
Got it. And what about technology? I know he's interested in AI, its potential for better decision-making.
He's excited about AI analyzing massive data, finding patterns we might miss. But human oversight is key. It's not blindly trusting the algorithm, but using it to enhance our own understanding, our judgment.
Stay in the driver's seat, even with new tech. Speaking of, I've heard he's big on personality assessments, like Myers-Briggs. What's that about?
Yeah. He's fascinated by how people are wired differently. Sees these assessments as tools for understanding those differences. Even admits being surprised by how accurate they can be.
Like a cheat sheet for figuring out how people tick.
He tells a story about how some results seemed unbelievable, but then watching those people in action, he'd realized the assessments were spot on. It was like a window into their minds.
Wow. But what's the point of knowing all this? How does it help build better teams, achieve goals?
Ties back to leveraging strengths, addressing weaknesses. Understanding how people are wired, you can put them in roles that play to their strengths. Build teams that are greater than the sum of their parts, like a puzzle, each piece unique.
So appreciate the differences, use them. But that takes honesty, transparency. People need to acknowledge their weaknesses, be open to feedback.
That's where radical transparency comes in. He believes in being direct, honest, even if uncomfortable. It's the only way people understand their strengths, weaknesses, and how to grow.
But direct feedback can be tough, especially at work. How do you create a culture where people feel safe being that honest?
It's not about being brutally critical, it's trust, mutual respect. Feedback is a gift, an opportunity. Dalio talks about his own early struggles with giving feedback, how it led him to more structured approaches. Realized winging it wasn't effective. Needed clear processes, guidelines for consistent, constructive feedback.
So a system for feedback. just like he creates systems for everything else.
Exactly. And it's not just top-down from managers. He encourages feedback from all directions, peers, subordinates, even customers. Constant flow of information helps everyone improve, make better decisions.
Sounds like a lot of work to build that culture. But the payoff must be huge if you can get it right.
It is, and it applies beyond work. Radical transparency. It works in any relationship, family, friends, partners. Approach it with empathy, a genuine desire to help each other grow.
Okay, so embracing reality, logical decisions, strong teams. But Dalio is also famous for his unique culture at Bridgewater, his hedge fund. Idea meritocracy, he calls it. What's that all about?
Fascinating concept. The best ideas win, regardless of who came up with them. Seniority doesn't equal authority. It's the strength of your reasoning, your evidence.
Amazing in theory, but can it really work? Especially in a hedge fund. So much pressure, so much at stake.
Well, that's what Dalio wanted to prove. He believed that with radical transparency, intellectual rigor, he could unlock a new level of decision-making beyond a traditional hierarchy. Everyone empowered to challenge ideas, debate openly, find the best solutions together.
But how do you keep that from being chaotic? Wouldn't it just be constant arguing?
To prevent that, he wrote down his principles, a set of documents everyone at Bridgewater had to study, adhere to. It was their operating manual, guiding everything, meetings, resolving disagreements.
Like a constitution for the company.
Exactly. And to walk the walk, he implemented unconventional practices, taping all meetings, detailed issue logs to track problems, hold people accountable.
Wow, that AS transparent. But if you're truly committed to idea meritocracy, I guess you need those checks and balances.
That's Dalio's view. Essential to ensure the best ideas win and everyone is accountable.
There's been some controversy, though, right? Bridgewater's culture described as intense, even ruthless.
Yes, his tough love approach has gotten mixed reactions, challenging people directly, sometimes harshly, but always within a caring community, he insists. Bridgewater, like an extended family, push each other to be their best, even with tough conversations.
Sounds like a tough balance to strike. Not everyone thrives in that kind of environment, but if everyone buys in, it could be powerful.
Definitely requires a specific culture commitment to those principles.
So for our listener, could elements of this work in their environment? Maybe not a hedge fund, but could they bring more transparency, open debate, rigorous decision-making to their teams?
Worth exploring. Even without adopting everything, there are valuable lessons.
Now, one thing that surprised me about Dalio was his view on leadership. I expected strong, decisive CEO. He's got a different take.
Yeah, very unconventional. He actually argues against that traditional all-knowing leader model.
Humility, recognizing no one has all the answers. The best leaders surround themselves with independent thinkers, people who will challenge them.
Leadership is about creating a system, a machine that can function even without him. Empower others to think, make decisions based on those principles, push the organization forward.
So less hero, more architect, coach, facilitator.
Exactly. Back to systematizing decisions, an environment where the best decisions happen consistently, regardless of who's in charge.
He's even working on applying his principles to management decisions, like he did for investing.
That's right. Believes many management decisions can be broken down, principles and rules applied consistently, like investing. More complex, of course, human judgment still matters, but a more systematic approach leads to better outcomes overall.
Bringing this back to our listener, what's the key takeaway here?
Biggest takeaway, I think, leadership isn't about having all the answers, being the smartest. It's creating an environment where the best ideas win, people contribute, everyone's aligned on those principles.
Something anyone can strive for. Leading a team, a community, even your family. Shifting from I know best to let's figure this out together. It's amazing how Dalio's principles all connect, build on each other, like this web of ideas, all going back to embracing reality, making logical decisions, always improving.
It's a specific, demanding philosophy sometimes, but it's not about blindly following rules. Understand the principles, adapt them to your life. He even says, modify them, reject them if they don't fit your values, your goals.
So it's not one size fits all. Take what works, make it your own.
Exactly. He's not creating mini Dalios, but offering a framework. Think about success, decisions, building relationships.
And it's ongoing, right? He's always refining his principles based on experience, feedback.
It's key. His journey shows principles aren't static. They evolve. Experience, reflection, testing. Keep refining yours as you go. Challenges, successes. It's never ending. Self-discovery, improvement.
That's empowering. We're not stuck with our current beliefs, habits. We can change, grow.
Absolutely. That's what it's all about. Empowering people. Take control of your life, make better decisions, achieve your goals, whatever they may be.
So wrapping up our deep dive, what are some key takeaways? What can listeners start doing today?
We covered a lot, but a few key points. First, embrace reality. Don't hide from the tough stuff. Use it to grow. Second, train your brain to be logical. Don't let emotions rule your decisions. Third, strong relationships, trust, transparency. Give and receive feedback constructively. And finally, never stop learning, evolving. Your principles, like you, are a work in progress.
Great advice. So to our listeners, I hope you found this valuable. What resonated? What sparked your curiosity? What one principle can you use today to make a positive change?
It's not about adopting everything, but finding those nuggets of wisdom for your unique path.
Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive. We'll see you next time for another fascinating exploration.